These niggas ain't bigger than me. These niggas ain't Nas, ain't Jigger than me. These niggas ain't M, they ain't 50 to me. You ain't Pun, you ain't Pop, you ain't Biggie to me. These niggas ain't Crips, they ain't 60s to me. These niggas ain't Bloods, they ain't dripping with me. Niggas talking that shit by the new generation, man. Fuck these niggas, I slash your fucking faces. You niggas ain't so shit, not an album or a rock. Pussy nigga putting rings on my old bitch. Dick down the throat ass niggas, old hoe ass niggas. Happy cause you went gold ass niggas. These niggas ain't spitting with me, you ain't sicker than me. Fuck out my section, you ain't sitting with me. This for very important people, it's clear that we not equal. Clear you niggas faggots, I'm the Black Marshall Matt. Like yin 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 on the motherfucker. Who needs Hulk Hogan when you got Sting on this motherfucker? Less than 5 albums, kiss the ring on this motherfucker. California throne and I'm the king on this motherfucker. I don't wanna hear it. Weak ass lyrics, crying on the hook, thinking we gon' feel it. Oh, lost ass niggas, voice crack when you talk ass nigga, rolling blunts for the boss ass niggas. I came in with Ye, Jeezy and boss ass niggas. Your freshman cover a whole bunch of soft ass niggas. Tampon lyricists evacuate the premises. Mute BET ciphers cause I don't wanna hear that shit. May you rest in piss, you fuck niggas. Hey Frank Ocean, go ahead, fuck these fuck niggas. Yeah, they fuck niggas. Ain't no 3 stacks in your class, so take your top 10 spot and shove it up your ass, bitch, boy. Niggas already fucked your bitch, you bitch, boy. And every time you kiss on that hoe, you suck my dick, you bitch, boy. And when you buy that hoe a bag, that bitch carry my bricks, you bitch, boy.
Good evening, good evening. 'Tis the season to be disrespectful. It's your boy Sean P in the place to be. Kicking that real science, that real knowledge. They got them pseudos howling because the spills is flying. Man, I'm back on astrology today. I'm back. First, let me show you why I'm back. I would tell y'all to like the show and share the show, but y'all ain't gonna like it or share it. But if you did, I appreciate you. Let's go. All my sources is in the description for today's bill. Please feel free to hijack them sources. So I did this video, right? A day ago, right? There's a comment on here. I'm gonna get into this comment, but this dude right here, this dude, no videos, he's just a channel. Look who he subscribed to. Bruce Sanchez. Stanford. Harvard Museum of Ancient. He want to be famous. So I'm going to give him to him. Who the hell is this person? He subscribed to him. But the first thing you see on here when he subscribed to anybody of any type of consciousness, Sanchez. So you already know he's pseudo off the rip. He leaves a comment on my post. And we're going to get into it. Because he thinks that he can just say whatever he want to say and then not deal with the deal with. So let's deal with what to deal with. It's cooking time. Let me zoom in. This is from Douglas Duncan. Sent Monday, December 6, 2004, 7:44 p.m. to Douglas Duncan at colorado.edu. So Douglas Duncan emailed himself from his Comcast email to his school email. The subject line of the email was skepticalastrology.htm. Okay. Doug D double, right? It says skeptical studies in astrology. Now, mind you, yesterday I showed y'all the double blind study regarding astrology. And what you mean, who? I don't know the dude named Doug, but Doug emailed it to himself a long time ago. But the dude that came on my channel is a dude who always arguing for astrology, which is Mangazi. And he tends to think that this stuff is African. Okay? So he's in my comments. However, let's deal with what we need to deal with. He copies and pastes something from this particular source. All right. So is somewhere else, but he could have copied and pasted it from a few other places because it's all on the astrology sites. Now, the test that we talked about yesterday, the double blind test that was done yesterday, it had the help of astrologers. We read it, we went through it, and we understood it that the only way to test astrology is to use the methods and tools that astrologers have created and designed to test. So he does that in this study. He removes biases from both sides, and he does everything that he needs to do. And here we are. So astrologers who claim they can analyze a person's character and predict a person's life course just by reading the stars are fooling the public and themselves. University of California researcher Sean Carlson has concluded in a unique double-blind test of astrology published in Nature in 1985. The controlled study was designed specifically to test whether astrologers can do what they say they can do. Carlson, a researcher at UC's Lawrence Berkeley Laboratory, found astrologers had no special ability to interpret personality from astrological readings. Astrologers also performed much worse in the test than they predicted they would, according to Carlson. The study refutes astrologers' assertions that they can solve clients' personal problems by reading natal charts. Individual horoscopes cast according to the person's date, time, and place of birth. It is more likely that when sitting face-to-face with a client, astrologers read clients' needs, hopes, and doubts from their body language, said Carlson, who is also a doctoral candidate in physics at UCLA and a professional magician who has himself performed psychic ability demonstrations. Carlson research involved 30 American and European astrologers considered by their peers to be among the best practitioners of their art. The study was designed specifically to test astrology as astrologers define it. Astrologers frequently claim that previous tests by scientists have been based on scientists' misconceptions about astrology. To check astrologers' claims that they can tell from natal charts what people are really like and how they will fare in life, Carlson asked astrologers to interpret natal charts for 116 unseen clients. In the test, astrologers were allowed no face-to-face contact with their clients. For each client chart, astrologers were provided 3 anonymous personality profiles, 1 from client and 2 from others chosen at random, and asked to choose the one that best matched the natal chart. All personality profiles came from real people and were compiled in using questionnaires known as the California Personality Inventory, or CPI. The CPI, a widely used scientifically accepted personality test, measures traits like aggressiveness, dominance, femininity from a long series of multiple choice questions. According to Carlson, the study strenuously attempted to avoid anti-astrology bias by making sure astrologers were familiar with the CPI and by incorporating many of the astrologers' suggestions. At the same time, to prevent testers from inadvertently helping astrologers during the test, the project was designed a double-blind study where neither astrologers nor testers knew any of the answers to experimental questions. Despite astrologers' claims, Carlson found one of every 3 natal charts with the proper personality profile, the very proportion predicted by chance. In addition, astrologers in the study fell far short of their own prediction that they would correctly match one of every 2 natal charts provided. Even when astrologers expressed strong confidence in matching, they were no more likely to be correct, Carlson found. Then he gives us Carlson's conclusion. Yeah, man. I don't want to read the conclusion again, but this is it. Peep this. Oh, it ain't no sources either. There's no source. There's no information. This person didn't do any test, redo the test, or try to replicate the test or falsify it. None of that was done. However, a lot of people believe in astrology because they think they have seen it work. Carlson observed. He believes many astrologers are successful at their art because they draw important clues about clients' personalities and lifestyle from facial expressions, body language, and conscious or unconscious verbal responses. When magicians use the same technique, they call it cold reading. But based on scientific findings, Carlson suggested many people would do better to spend their money on trained psychology counselors. However, he disagrees with those who would like to see astrology outlawed. People believed in astrology for thousands of years and no doubt will continue to do so no matter what scientists discover. They are entitled to their beliefs, but they should know that there is no factual evidence on which to base them. The astrologers' reaction so far have been pretty much what I expected, Carlson told Skeptical Inquirer. The astrologists whom I didn't test are saying that the test was not fair because I did not test them. Of course, if I had tested them instead and they had failed, then the astrologers I actually tested would now be saying that the test was not fair because I did not test them. I attended the NCGR party. I was the only non-astrologer in the house to discuss the research shortly after it was published. The discussion was, to put it politely, energetic. I have not yet received a serious scientific challenger to the paper. I'm going to say it again. He has not received a serious scientific challenge to the paper. The newsletter of the American Federation of Astrologers Network published a response in January 1986. I was very disappointed to see that it largely consists of personal attacks. Carlson said, its few substantive criticism are attributable to ignorance of his experiment, of the CPI, and of basic scientific methodology. Carlson's study was supported by Richard Mueller, professor of physics at UC Berkeley, and paid for by General Congressional Award. Now, let's go to this comment. And let's pull up where he got this quote from. And then I'm going to read it to y'all. So it looks like he might have got this quote from ResearchGate, is where he got this quote from, right? But let's see if we can find this quote first. Yep, this is where he get this from. So he gets this here, but this is not a response. This is support astrology cost and experience. This article has been peer reviewed by subject matter experts referred through the publisher. Carlson's double blind, SIBO, yada yada yada. This is a quote. So let's read his message here. He says, because this is where he's getting it from, Kenneth McRitchie. Man, this is sad. He says, the Carlson double-blind study published in 1985 in Nature, one of the world's leading scientific publications, has long been regarded as one of the most definitive indictments against astrology. Although this study might appear to be fair to uncritical readers, be careful, listen to the words. Although this study might appear to be fair to uncritical readers. So those of you who don't read critically, this might seem fair to you. You see the shot he takes? It contains serious flaws. Now, let's continue. Which, when they are known, cast a very different light on the study. These flaws include no disclosure. Listen to the flaws. No disclosure of similar scientific studies. Let's stop right there. This was a double-blind test. They're not supposed to disclose anything to the people. The people who created and designed the test were astrologers because they couldn't use science. They didn't want to create bias. He says that in the article, yet still you said that there was no disclosure for scientific studies. Let's proceed. Unfairly skewed design. Who created the design? The people that helped assist in creating the design was the astrologers. Disregard for its own stated criteria of evaluation. Irrelevant grouping of data. I don't know how you come to that conclusion. Rejection of unexpected results. And an illogical conclusion based on the null hypothesis. Yet when the statement measurement criteria are applied and the data is evaluated according to normal social science, the two tests, he says normal social science, the two tests performed by the participating astrologers provide evidence that is consistent with astrology. And then he provides this outcome. P equals 0.54 with ES equals 0.15 and P equals 0.3, and then with the ES of 0.10. The extraordinary results give further testimony to the power of data ranking and rating methods, which have been successfully used in previous astrological experiments. A critical discussion on follow-up studies by McGrew and McFall, Naninga, and Wyman and Weiss is also included. Then he leaves another message. This is the critique of Sean Carlson's double-blind experiment, as if I have not seen the critique. He thinks that I haven't seen the critique. There's a problem with the critique. He says that it was peer-reviewed. That's what he says. This article has been peer-reviewed by subject matter experts referred through the publisher. This is the abstract that was written that he posted in the chat. Okay. So what can you do here? Here's Ken McRitchie. He's a Canadian poet, technical writer, yada, yada, yada. Right? McRitchie has a bias. Ritchie is a Canadian poet, technical writer, and research astrologer. He is the one-time editor of Above and Below Journal of Astrological Studies and is the author of Environmental Cosmology, Principles and Theory of Natal Astrology. So he said this was peer-reviewed. But when we go and look at this, there's a couple of things that people are going to find issue with immediately. He says that Carlson's let me zoom. All right, there you go. He says Carlson's astrology experiment was conducted between 81 and 83 when Carlson was an undergraduate physics teacher at the University of Cal Berkeley under the mentorship of Richard Mueller. The flaws that have been uncovered in Nature article include not only the omission of literature or similar studies, which is expected in all academic papers, but more serious irregularities. Now, ladies and gentlemen, if you know anything about science, if there are flaws in an article, the flaws in the article would be retracted. And this would be a retracted paper. But here's the thing. There is no retraction. His article is not retracted at all. Fake news is not simple false information. Like, it's not retracted. The Journal of Nature would have retracted his article. They going to Tucker Carlson, not Sean. So, tell me this. Why does an astrologer, and this is Ken McRitchie again. This is Ritchie's article, 2011, support for astrology from Carlson's double-blind experiment. He writes all of this, talking about support. But he has problems. From careful reading of Carlson's article in the light of ensuing body of discourse, we can appreciate that the design of the experiment was intentionally skewed in the favor of null hypothesis, no astrological effect, which Carlson refers to somewhat misleading as the scientific hypothesis. This is his claim. The astrologers were not supplied. Look what the astrologers need. The astrologers were not supplied with the gender identities of the people who did the survey, though the CPI creates different profiles for men and women. So they needed information in order to do more. Then it says participants were not provided with sufficiently dissimilar choices of interpretations. The easier to discriminate and more powerful two-choice format. It was 3 choices, not 2. The requirement of rejecting the scientific hypothesis, failure to consider astrologers' methodological suggestions. He said this, failure to consider astrologers' methodological suggestions. The test was created by the astrologer's methodological suggestions. He is the only person arguing against that study. To add to that, what is astrology's methodology? It's predicting, assuming, but there's more. Hold on. I didn't mean to go to that. Appraisal of Sean Carlson's renowned astrology test. Sudbert Odell. Does this look familiar to y'all? Does this look familiar to y'all? Watch. Sean Carlson's 1985 study published in the journal edited verdict of, which ended with a devastating verdict of astrology is scrutinized. The design of Carlson study violated demands of fairness and its mode of analysis ignored common norms of statistics. The study piecemeal analysis of subsamples avoided testing the totals of astrological effects and did the neglect of the test power, effect size, and sample size. Nevertheless, a correct analysis of Carlson's two astrological tests reveals that astrologers match profiles of the CPI to natal charts better than expected by chance with marginal significance. Then it provides the same number. Remember, the same number. Now, the results are regarded as insufficient to deem astrology as empirical verified, but they are sufficient to regard Carlson's negative verdict on astrology as untenable. So, among the experiment studies, they go in to try to go and do something. Now, mind you, this person is an astrologer. So astrology is fighting back. They're going to say they're saying the same thing, that he's withholding information from the astrologers. The design of Call's study was unfair. It was flawed because effect size and test power were not considered. The number of recruited subjects and astrologers was insufficient. Nevertheless, one of Carlson's two astrological studies showed replicable significant results by two methods of assessment. It gets better. Studies 2 and 3, for which volunteer students were recruited, seem to have suffered participants' lack of effort. They said the studies failed due to a lack of effort. Since half of their data ratings were so poor that they could not even be analyzed, there is a reason to doubt that the analyzable other half of the data has been carefully completed. In the view of at least two significant test results, Carlson's conclusion is not justified. We are now in a position to argue a surprisingly strong case against natal astrology as practiced by reputable astrologers. Such conclusion could not be drawn even if study 1 had shown an insignificant result. Not being able to reject a null hypothesis does not justify the claim that the alternate hypothesis is wrong. As a personal remark, my impression is that research of extraordinary claims conducted by prominent members of skeptical organizations, when they do such research at all, is likely to suffer from bias and fact distorting procedures. Mm. This is not to say that the studies with astrology favorable results would have a prior chance to survive my scrutiny, and better reports about negative results are numerous. Confirmation of classical astrological predictions are rare exceptions. Moreover, they do not verify astrological beliefs. Correct astrological diagnosis, if they occur, might be due to paranormal and intuitions of psi-gifted astrologers. Parapsychological phenomena are likely to eventually become reconcilable with the growing body of scientific knowledge. Astrology is far from having the same chance. Yet, disparaging attitudes against astrology are hardly recommendable, as they are articulated in a paper titled "Top Scientists Must Fight Astrology, or All of Us Will Face the Consequences." Ezekiel's occasional involvement in astrological research issues may be regarded as a model. Okay, so I didn't talk about everything in here that he actually argued, but I left it all in the description. And I did that because I wanted to make sure that you eliminate any type of bias. Here's the problem. They did not replicate the test. They were looking for flaws within his test to deem it credible. The only way that you can replicate and refute his work is to do the test. You crying saying that it's unfair. That's what was said. I ain't make it up. They deemed it, two people said it was unfair. I ain't making it up. So these three sources that I got in here are all about, it's the same person twice. And then this other person, I threw him in there. Ertl. Now I bet y'all wondering, what's my setup? What am I really trying to get at? Astrology doesn't work and never worked. Here's why. What if I told you that there's a 2,000-year divination practice which claims that the life and personality of some primates is defined by the movement of the moon, planets, and a few random defined constellations? You'd probably think I'm crazy, right? Well, allow me to introduce you to astrology. How it's supposed to work. Throughout its history, astrology has been regarded as a science and art and a form of divination magic. Today, it's been strongly and repeatedly proven to be a pseudoscience with no working mechanism behind it. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Astrology is the belief that the alignment of the stars and planets affect individuals' moods, personalities, and environment. And it all depends on when the individual was born. In astrology, personalized horoscopes are printed by birth date and mark vague predictions, generally above the love life, success, and health of people under the same horoscope sign. But how does it work? How can the movement of the planets have this impact? Well, let me zoom in. It doesn't. There is no mechanism to explain how it could work. No force that can back it up. And furthermore, no rational reason to split up the entire human population into 12 groups symbolized by randomly assigned constellations. A constellation is a group of stars that forms an imaginary outline. They seem to look like something. Most constellations represent an animal, an object, a mythological hero. 12 ancient constellations were assigned to the zodiac, with each representing a particular sign. These constellations were first described in Babylon some 3,000 years ago. The Babylonian star catalogs into Greek astronomy in the 4th BC, circulating across different cultures. There is no indication of why everyone born at the same time of year would be under the same influence. Renowned astrologer Elizabeth Tyser famously tried to explain that by saying the sun ends up in the same place in the sky on every same date each year. But that couldn't be further from the truth. There's a difference of about 22,000 miles between Earth's location on a specific date and two successive years. Also, it's important to consider the context of this. The zodiac signs are the result of Babylonian pattern, matching on the night sky. This doesn't seem very reliable. Testing astrology. Testing the validity of astrology isn't exactly straightforward because astrologers themselves can't agree on what it's supposed to do. Some practitioners claim that astrology is a science and that there's a mechanism behind it all, but we just haven't found it yet. However, despite several trials and experiments, astrology has never demonstrated its effectiveness scientifically and was refuted through various methods. More on that a bit later. Other astrologers propose conventional causal agents such as electromagnetism and gravity, but gravitational effect of constellations is completely negligible compared to even that of the moon, let alone the Earth. And the perceived magnetic field of other planets and constellations is so far smaller than those produced by modern household appliances. I ain't even got to keep on going here. So again, this article was written January 28th, 2021. This article also uses Carlson's study. The same one that two astrologers said was unfair. How would they say? Astrology only seems to work in bad studies. Nah, they didn't falsify his test. They just said he had some said he was wrong here or there. Said it was unfair. Not all studies are made equal. And if you look hard enough through the literature, you'll come across some studies that seem to at least suggest that astrology might work. In 1979, Ivan Kelly from Saskatchewan showed that the vast majority of studies conducted do not confirm astrological claims, and that few studies that are positive needed additional clarification. 20 years later, Kelly returned with another study that also explained that Astrology has no theoretical foundation to lie on. I'm going to pull the study up. Because people saying that just stay stuck on Carlson. Kelly participated in one more relevant study. So that's 3 studies by Kelly. For several decades, researchers tracked more than 2,000 people under the zodiac sign, most of them born within minutes of each other. According to astrology, the subject should have had very similar traits, but this was not the case. Basically, the participants had no notable similarities outside what you're expected from a random distribution. And then another study from different authors with an even larger sample size came up with similar results. My African brother, who claim you African, but you really American with an African name and you pseudo as hell, leaving comments on my show, my channel. You thought that you was just gonna get away with the Carson study and then the nitpicking from 2 astrologers to say that the study was unfair to them and they didn't provide enough information for them to even guess right. If they're astrologers, they should have already known what was right. There's been no guessing. It's a 50, you got a 50-50 chance at guessing. But you good at 70% if you know what I'm saying, you in there. So I'm gonna pause right there. I used 3 articles from astrologers, 2 being the same person and 1 being a different person. And I'm using 1 article to go against the 3 articles that I just showed you. And I ain't even using the source that I had yesterday. So inside of that article, you got to get access to it. I can get into Sage, but I got to contact somebody to get logged back in where I can stay in it. But the study out there exists. Let me see if I can do the DOI number if it come up. Nah, I don't. Go back to Sage. I have to get the login. But anyway, empirical literature is reviewed that the address of belief in a relationship between astrological tenets and human characteristics. Studies are examined relating sign of zodiac, moon sign, ascendant, and aspects of planets to various psychological variables. The majority of the studies conducted do not confirm astrological claims, and the few studies that are positive need additional information. All right, so I can get into this, but I don't feel like signing no prescription where you can get into this. This from 2003, and it talks about astrologers fail to predict proof they are wrong. And then, of course, you got the Science Direct article, the relationship between date of birth and individual differences in personality and general intelligence, a large-scale study. So here's another study that you can take with you and understand it. All you have to do is pay attention. You don't need a lot of stuff to kind of deal with the subject matter. Just got to know how to handle your business. Due to the space limitations, only figures for the relationship between the dependent variable and month of birth are reported, since the other results are categorizations of these and can accordingly to some extent be derived from these. Furthermore, all significant relationships are also reported. You can get into that. Let's get into this. But as we continue, astrology is a pseudoscience. It's a pseudoscience. There are several studies and reviews of studies as mentioned above. They all indicate the same thing. Astrology is all smoke and mirrors. But in particular, interesting study at the University of Michigan, Paul Thegards put forth an elegant argument proposing a thorough criterion that separates science and pseudoscience, demonstrating that astrology definitely falls in the latter category. Again, study put forth by Paul. This is why I only use one source. Here you go. Studies of astrology. Get into it. Get into it. I use one source that hosts a data bank of other sources that put you in a box. Don't get mad at me. Don't get mad at me. Come on, man. This thing go deep, bro. It go deep. And this was bad because people be trying to argue their behind off and don't know what they're arguing. It's really getting boring, to tell you the truth. So why astrology is a pseudoscience? You can log in and read this by the guard, and it's a good little article to read. So there's no theoretical basis for astrology, no practical results, and yet sometimes it seems like astrologers get it right. Why is that? Why does it work? The core approach of astrology is to give out vague blanket statements like, you will have an important challenge this week. This strategy is used for predicting the future events as well as assessing personality traits. So we're just going to take advantage of your gullibility and your ignorance, and you're going to think that it's some real stuff. Sutek, what about this experiment? Hmm? Hmm? Because see, they thought we was gonna stop at Carlson. But I said, I'm just gonna walk them through it all. You see Sutek put it in the chat. You see what I'm saying? We ain't even gotta go too far. Sutek got it in the chat, ladies and gentlemen. Mm-hmm. 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 The Fourier effect describes when individuals believe that the generic information which could apply to anyone applies specifically to themselves. We ain't even got to get too far. More evidence. Watch this. A similar experiment was carried out, ironically, by astrologer Michael Gankelin. Gankelin offered free horoscopes to any reader. Persuasion newspaper provided that they would give feedback on accuracy of supposedly individual analysis. As with Fourier's experiment, he sent out thousands of copies of the same horoscope to people all over of all the astrological signs. 94% of the readers replied that they were reading was accurate and insightful. To top it off, the horoscope he gave out was that of a local mass murderer, David Patoit, who admitted during his trial that he had killed 63 people. Gauquelin set out to scientifically analyze astrology, and his results came out strongly against his profession. Yes, y'all. See, they thought it was a game. They thought it was a game. This is why I said do not come in my comments with that dumb stuff, bro. Because you don't want me peeling back the layers because I'm gonna put you in your place. They call it the Mars effect. And this how pseudo this is. This coming from Astrology News Service. And they saying it confirms astrology. Hmm? Yeah. To top it off, the horoscope he gave out was that of a local mass murderer, David Petoit. Conklin set out to scientifically analyze astrology, and this result came out strongly against his profession. So, I just wanted to do this for fun. Since the astrologers said that there was something wrong with Sean Carlson's study, what about this? Hmm? You see, this is stuff, right? Carlson study, something skewed about it, right? This all saying the same thing. Coming to Carlson, right? No one wants to really do the study. They just want to say he's wrong and claim that it's seriously flawed. What I'm showing you is that there's no scientific article that exists that shows that they did the work to refute it. If they published something scientifically, it would have been what it would have been, what it would have been, how it would have been. This being said, horoscopes can sometimes make people feel better, right? Although astrology has no scientific backing, no consistency, no listen, this is all the problems with it. No scientific backing, no consistency, no reproducibility. Astrology doesn't really have the negative impact on some of the other pseudosciences, such as anti-vaxxing or homeopathy. So, because it doesn't have the negative impact as the anti-vaxxing and homeopathy people, it's okay. It's harmless. Remember, in a sense, astrology is benign pseudoscience, and in some instances, it can even have a minor positive effect on people's mental state, thanks to the placebo effect. So many people believe in astrology, and when they read their horoscopes and follow its advice, they feel better. This don't have nothing to do with astrology itself, but rather with the way people perceive it. Astrology is glorifying. Hmm. It gives a sense of self, a sense of communion with the cosmos, and promises to bring it a bit of magic into your day. Hmm. So I put this one article in there to deal with two different astrologers and their feelings about what's being said about astrology. I also showed y'all how to walk through the article and get and gain additional information that can help you in your research. So it's some stepping stones there. So to the brother Mangizi Mbokani, vet your sources before you post them, my brother. Don't go looking for something to refute a study. Find a source that replicated this test and deemed it incorrect based on data. Use that data, confirm that data in some peer-reviewed published journal that's accredited and see if it's solid. We can replicate all the tests, but what you don't want to talk about is how. Hold up. What you don't want to talk about is how your stuff, them little tests that y'all been running, is flawed. You see how easy that is? Huh? I didn't go looking for something to refute something. I was already familiar with that. But if I would have brought up Thagard's work, you would have tried to go chase it down and try to refute it. Right? Go on and be honest. Because you believe in astrology. And it's okay because the women that believe in astrology that was in the chat yesterday, they basically said that they believe. I put the link in the chat and you was just sitting there watching the show and you didn't even want to join because you were scared. You were scared. You here now, but you don't want to comment because you don't want to deal with his work. Sitting there want to be magic facts. They do want to be. They want to be prime time. Let's give you something else to chase. Let's give you something else to chase. Most philosophers and historians of science agree that astrology is a pseudoscience, but there is a little agreement on why it is a pseudoscience. Answers range from matters of verifiability and falsifiability to question the progress of Kuhn normal science, to different sorts of objections raised by the large panel of scientists recently organized by the Humanist magazine. Of course, there are also Faradarian anarchists and others who say that no demarcation of science from pseudoscience is possible. However, I shall propose a complex criterion for discussing the disciplines of pseudoscientific. This criterion is unlike verificationist and falsificationist attempts in that it introduces social and historical features as well as local ones. I begin with a brief description of astrology. There you go. It would be most unfair to evaluate astrology by reference to the daily horoscopes found in newspapers and popular magazines. These horoscopes deal only with sun signs, whereas a full horoscope makes reference to the influences also of the moon and the planets, while others discussing the ascendant signs and other matters. Astrology divides the sky into 12 regions, represented by familiar signs of zodiac, Aquarius, Libra, and so on. The sun sign represents the part of the sky occupied by the sun at the time of the birth. For example, anyone born between September 23rd, October 22nd is a Libra. The ascendant sign often assumes to be at least as important as a sun sign, represented by the part of the sky rising on the eastern horizon at the time of birth. Therefore, changes every 2 hours. To determine this sign accurate, knowledge of one time and place birth is essential. The moon and the planets, of which there are 5 or 8 depending on whether Uranus, Neptune, or Pluto, take into account, are also located by the means of charts of the parts of the zodiac. Each planet is said to exercise an influence in a special sphere of a human activity. For example, Mars governs drive, courage, and daring, while Venus governs love and artistic endeavor. The immense number of combinations of sun, ascended moon, and planetary influences allegedly determines human personalities, behavior, and fate. Astrology is an ancient practice and appears to have its origins in Chaldea thousands of years BC by 700 BC. The zodiac was established, and few centuries later, the signs of the zodiac were similar to the current ones. Y'all hear that? Astrology is an ancient practice, appears to have its origins in Chaldea, thousands of years BC. By 700 BC, the zodiac was established. And a few centuries later, the signs of those zodiacs were brought out. And, I don't even want to read this to y'all no more. Just look at it. An ancient practice, origins in Chaldea, thousands of years ago. By 700 BC, you get zodiacs was established. So a few centuries later, the signs of the zodiacs are similar to the current ones. It makes no sense. How a few decades later, the zodiacs line up from the original ones. Watch this. This is why I didn't want to get into this. Because I didn't want to keep on showing you source after 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 source, and then you get away with it. I'm putting it on the screen. In conclusion, I would like to say why I think the question of what constitutes a pseudoscience is important. Unlike the logical positivists, I am not grinding an anti-metaphysical X. And unlike Popper, I am not granting an anti-Freudian or anti-Marxian one. My concern is social. Society faces the twin problems of a lack of public concern with the advancement of science, the lack of public concern with the important ethical issues now arising in science and technology. For example, around the topic of genetic engineering, one reason for this dual lack of concern is the wide popularity of pseudoscience and the occult among science is the philosophical side of an attempt to overcome public neglect of genuine science. Y'all really need to read Thagard's work. Really need to read his work. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, bro, I know you in here. Don't wait till my video over and try to comment or go look for something. The first thing that you can Google to try to refute a study. You can't even tell us what's going on with it. I gave all y'all the information live and direct. I ain't had nothing. Nothing at all. Mm-hmm. Questions, comments, concerns, feelings are not welcome here. Let me know what's up. Okay, okay. What up, bro? Zen Ra. What's going on out there? Oh, look who it is. Interesting. Somebody that showed up. The non-speaker speaks. Oh yeah, you probably gone now. Now that I done acknowledge the fact that you know what I'm saying. The non-speaker speaks, y'all. Shout out to the non-speaker. Yes, it is what it is, huh? But real quick, man, I wanna kind of get off that. Um, and I want to kind of do something different. What I want to do is I want to pose a question to a lot of people. Um, the question that I want to pose is, can anyone before the Greeks, Persians, before the Arabs, the Greeks, the Romans, the Persians, uh, before any of them coming on onto the continent of Africa, any foreigner, can you show me any African people practicing astrology? Not astronomy, astrology. Can you show me where they developed some type of understanding of the natural world or an explanation of the natural world and put together a zodiac? Yeah, man, a non-speaker speaks, bro. Twice. Not once, but twice. At least the non-speaker speaks to y'all. So does anybody have that information? I'll wait. You know what I'm saying? I don't have no problem waiting. But I need somebody to go find me. Now, people like to run the Kemet, right? And talk about they got the zodiacs in ancient Egypt. That boy said if I die, it's cool to snitch on me, T.I.'s cuz. Y'all crazy. Can anybody find any astrological practices in Africa before any foreign ruler? I said before the Greeks, though, Sutek. Before the Greeks, because we all know the Greeks came with the judo. Now, I'm asking this because you got people doing business and trading in regions and people going back and forth over there. You know what I'm saying? In Northeast Africa, right? So wouldn't you see astrology before the Greeks? The zodiacs before the Greeks? Why is it ain't until the Greeks we hear about ancient Egypt or ancient Kemet being that type? I just want to know. This motherfucker over this TikTok shit. Mm-hmm. $100,000 TV that retracts. Interesting. $100,000 and you can't hide the cords. We had the Zodiac killer out here in Northern California. Yo, somebody, man, this dude here crazy, bro. He ain't got no damn sense. That boy Tyson be snoring, bro. I ain't no cap. No cap. Zodiac killer. What else y'all got, man? What y'all want to talk about, man? I put the link in the chat. What y'all running from? Oh yeah, hold up. I could give y'all a little more science. It is science with Sean. I ain't got nothing going on. Ain't nobody else live tonight or something? Cause you know other people is live right now. I know for sure we wouldn't see the non-talker. I know we won't see that. Hold on, let me get past my dog images. Where the information at? No, go buy this dog. Okay. So earlier you heard me talking with old boy, right? Emmanuel, and he was talking about all this stuff about all this stuff about the whole HIV thing, right? I was gonna make this its own show, but I'm just gonna run through some stuff real quick. I'm not gonna really too much talk about it. I might still make it its own show, but everybody know that a while ago I talked about these vaccine trials. Y'all know that. So HIV vaccine candidate induces immune response in early clinical trials. You know what I'm saying? That was early this month. And we got the information, right? On neutralizing antibodies for HIV prevention. The report, A Step in the Right Direction, researchers described the experimental HIV vaccine approach called germline targeting as sheep herding the immune system. They hope it will lead to greener pastures. right? And then you have the announces clinical trial of next generation HIV vaccine candidate designed to induce antibodies to block HIV. Yep. And this is a computer image there, right? And then you have the science article triggering rare HIV antibodies by vaccine. The clinical trial shows that an HIV vaccine can elicit rare antibodies, but there is more. And we got the information to get into that. And then there's more from Script. In the first human clinical trials confirms novel HIV vaccine approach developed by IV and Scripps Research. This is a computer image of HIV, the outer layer, of course. All right, so they're titling their human experience. I said experience, but the trials, the human trials, and the experimental vaccine. And there you go. First mRNA. Y'all remember when I did this back in early March? Or I mentioned it. But the first mRNA HIV vaccine clinical trial launches. And so all this goes into one effect. So there's a huge list of information. I may do it, may not. I don't know. He said they still haven't caught him. Talk about your boy T.I. Man, ain't nobody did none of that, bro. I don't know what you talking about. Oh, boy, you listen to Charleston White? I'm not listening to that shit. I'm not listening to that. Bro, I have not listened to no Charleston White. I'm not listening to him, and I don't care nothing about what he say. That dude is foolery. That's Sutek boy. But you see, Sutek ain't listening to that. We know what's up with the Mr. Crime Stoppers. Here, I am not listening to you about none of that, bruh. At all, none. Let me pull this up. Got something for y'all. Because I know y'all don't like to listen to me.
Video was made possible by Class Central. You can sit in on thousands of college courses taught by world-class professors at the greatest universities in the world right now by visiting the link in the description, class-central.com/Pacman. Let's talk about astrology. In the simplest sense, astrology means the search for human meaning in the sky. Astrology is a belief system and practice which claims that the movement and positions of celestial bodies like stars and planets and the moon can give us answers about what's happening on Earth and can make predictions about what will happen on Earth and in human lives. Astrologers believe that the movement and positioning of celestial bodies even have an effect on human personalities and behavior. So an astrologer might assert that it wasn't a coincidence that someone died during a full moon, or that a person is likely to make good decisions in their love life this week because they were born on a certain day in March 50 years ago. The problem with astrology is common to other pseudosciences. It's not based on evidence. Astrological claims are usually not falsifiable or even testable. Astrology hasn't been proven right but in some respects, it can't even be proven wrong, which should always be a red flag. So, first of all, astrology is not to be confused with astronomy, which is the actual scientific study of celestial bodies and everything in space. Astrology holds the belief that everything happening in space has a direct causal relationship with human events. A number of ancient societies had their own versions of astrology in Mesoamerica, India, China, Greece and Rome, Babylonia, parts of the Middle East. All of these ancient civilizations and others a long time ago started to assign significance to the cycles and positions of celestial bodies, trying to relate them to things happening on Earth, and this continued throughout the Middle Ages. For most of astrology's history, astrology and astronomy were synonymous. In other words, astrology was the best astronomy humans had. During this time, it's true that accurate observations of the stars and planets, what we think of as astronomy, was the foundation of astrology. And that's still true about astrology today to some degree. But astrology and astronomy began to split apart during the 17th and 18th centuries as more modern versions of science began developing and the supernatural claims made by astrology were challenged. So astrology was abandoned in the intellectual world, and astronomy has been firmly considered a separate, distinct discipline since the late 18th century. And this is worth noting that the split between astrology and astronomy happened upon the emergence of the scientific method. That's not a coincidence. But it sort of makes sense that pre science humans would think that the stars were sending them messages or influencing human affairs. Think about the last time you could see the stars clearly. It's awe inspiring. Ancient cultures that didn't have natural explanations for what they were seeing would unsurprisingly invent their own explanations. Humans are programmed to make inferences about things they don't understand. So astrology is really just a way of thinking that is left over from outdated attempts at science. But don't get me wrong, astrology can be very intricate. It can seem scientific enough because tracking planets and constellations is something that real scientists do using complex equations and charts and a ton of math. And this is why many people are tricked into thinking astrology is science. But I could use formulas and math to track the blades of grass in a park to make predictions about the stock market. The formulas and math don't actually make it meaningful. Astrology believes the time of your birth and the position of celestial bodies at that time can determine your personality, strengths, weaknesses, compatibility with people born at other times, and more. Who you should befriend, who you should date, decisions you should make in life. And central to astrology are horoscopes, which make predictions about people's behavior and destinies based on where and when they were born, which determines what's known as their sun sign, like Virgo, Libra, Scorpio, Sagittarius. We see horoscopes all over the place. Let's look at a random horoscope I found. I didn't cherry pick this. This was the first horoscope I found online. Quote, everyone looks to you for the answers today, but that doesn't rattle you at all. You're one cool customer, and nothing is going to get the better of you. Maybe it's healthy confidence or a bit of self-delusion. The reason for your grace under pressure is irrelevant. What matters is that you'll be there for the people who need you, and your actions will say everything that needs to be said. You could argue that what I just read is how most people feel on most days. The whole point is it's general enough for parts to apply to anyone and to seem relatable to anyone who reads it on any random day. There have been many experiments where a room full of people get the same horoscope, people with different astrological signs, and almost everybody in the room says the horoscope is accurate and relevant to their lives. People tend to rate claims about them as accurate if they're vague enough and if the person thinks that the claim was tailored to them. Separating the population into 12 signs that each get their own horoscope gives this illusion of a personally tailored claim. And the writers of horoscopes take advantage of what's called self-serving bias, where people agree more in general with flattering or positive descriptions of themselves or their situation. Horoscopes are rarely specific, and they almost never tell you about how horrible your day is going to be or what a bad person you are, even though bad days and bad people obviously exist. Check out your own horoscope for today on different websites and see how different they are. They're being written by people who are interpreting the sky in different ways. But even if all of the horoscopes were the same, it still wouldn't indicate that the position of the stars relative to when you were born had anything to do with what's happening in your life. And almost all modern Western astrology is derived from ancient Middle Eastern astrological traditions and involves some form of horoscope. An actual horoscope is a chart that diagrams the positions of the sun, moon, and planets and lets you track the angles that were created when you draw lines between them. You take that information and compare it to the exact time and place of a person's birth or some other event to make determinations about someone's innate characteristics or what will happen in the future. But astrology and horoscopes can get infinitely more complex and elaborate than newspaper horoscopes, depending on the astrologer. Astrologers are usually intimately familiar with astrology, and they charge people money for readings. Different astrologers have their own methods, and many astrologers claim that their methods are the right ones. Many people pay hundreds of bucks an hour to consult professional astrologers who often are also doubling as life coaches, using star and planetary charts to give advice about people's lives. There are many astrologers in the US that earn six-figure incomes. But let's ask ourselves, how could astrology even work? What bearing could the position of celestial bodies have on human affairs? Figure incomes. But let's ask, there are many astrologers in the US that earn six-figure incomes, give advice about people's lives. There are many astrologers in the US that earn six-figure incomes. Lives. There are many astrologers in the US that earn six-figure incomes. Lives. There are many astrologers in the US that earn six-figure incomes. Lives. There are many astrologers in the US that earn six-figure incomes.
One more
But let's
time.
ask lives. There are many astrologers in the US that earn six-figure incomes. But let's ask ourselves, how could astrology even work? What bearing could the position of celestial bodies have on human affairs? Objects that are millions or even billions of miles away, how could their positions affect you at your birth, much less right now? And if you're thinking gravity, Carl Sagan once pointed out that the gravitational pull of the people in the room during your birth would affect you more than the gravitational pull of other planets in our solar system. Why don't we take into account the position of the other people who were standing in the room when you were born? Was your mom's OBGYN particularly heavy? That would have more gravitational impact than the position of a distant star or planet. And astrologers often even break things down to the hour that you were born. What's so special about the moment that you were born? Your biology had already been developing in your mother's womb for months. None of this survives even the most basic scrutiny. Consider there being two twins born at the same time in the same place. Same planets are in the same places when they're born. The sun is in the same place. Think about how likely it is that they will lead entirely different lives, have entirely different relationships with other people, have different challenges, different goals. One might even die young while the other lives on. Astrology wouldn't have known. In 1958, British scientists registered 2,000 babies born in early March. Their development was monitored. 110 relevant variables were measured at ages 11, 16, and 23, including relationship status, IQ test scores, teacher and parent ratings of behavior, height, weight, vision, hearing, self-ratings of ability with art, music, and sports. And the study found no evidence that these people had any characteristics in common that could be statistically correlated. And why would they? According to a 2013 Harris poll, 29% of Americans say they believe in astrology, and data from the National Science Foundation suggests that the number is increasing. Ronald Reagan's chief of staff has said that Nancy Reagan cleared some decisions with her personal astrologer. Astrology can be fun, it can be entertaining if that's how we use it, but it's not based in reality, and it's not a good mechanism for making important decisions. It can give us an overly fatalistic outlook on life when we assume that our destinies are predetermined by the time of year we were born. It can also give us false hope or an inflated sense of self or a false sense of doom. And we shouldn't ignore that it's a multi-million-dollar industry. Astrological readings are a massive waste of money. We are connected to the rest of the universe, and maybe that's what believers in astrology are recognizing. Maybe that's the principle that they're latching onto. Human bodies really are made of stardust, and that's pretty astonishing. And the sun does have a profound impact on human life It allows life on Earth to exist with the light and the warmth that it provides. Why not just be captivated by that? But there is no evidence that we're connected to the rest of the universe in the way that astrology suggests. Given what we know about the universe today, it's actually a form of arrogance to think that humans are the focal point of the universe. It's a primitive superstition. There are plenty of mesmerizing truths about the universe and celestial bodies and how they relate to the earth and human life in ways that are scientifically justifiable. And maybe those are the facts we should be thinking about and be amazed by and fascinated with. There are already enough scientifically sound findings in physics, astronomy, and cosmology to keep us entranced by the universe and our place in it. We don't need astrology. And if you really want to learn more about the wonders of the universe, the real ones from a scientific perspective, through the disciplines of astronomy, cosmology, and physics, the best place to start is class lives. There are many astrologers in the US that earn six-figure incomes. But let's ask our that earn six-figure incomes. But let's that earn six-figure incomes in the US that earn six-figure incomes. There are many astrologers in the US that earn six-figure income. There are many astrologers in the US that earn six-figure incomes. There are many astrologers in the US that earn six-figure income. There are many astrologers in the US that earn six-figure incomes.
So now you know the push for astrology. Six-figure income for lying to motherfuckers? Man, we in the wrong business, man. We in the wrong business. We trying to teach people the truth, bro. They getting, and we ain't getting nothing. I ain't getting a dime. Zero. Wasting a lot of my time, man, trying to properly educate people, bro. I don't get nothing. These people, a lot of people, and get a six-figure income. Now you know why they need to keep astrology so relevant. But there y'all have it, man. Astrology continues to fail. It does. I mean, it continues to fail. Show me where it succeeded somewhere. Dude just he's sitting in the chat watching the show and won't say nothing at all. I'm reading the chat. Look, man, I'm gonna go ahead and get out of here, man. I appreciate everybody for tapping in. Those of y'all that rock with your boy, you know what I'm saying? Those of y'all that don't, appreciate y'all for coming in. You gotta since you didn't want to hit the link, hold on. Since you didn't want to hit the link and handle it and get your issue, you know what I'm saying? I'm assuming that you're gonna go back in my chat. You're gonna go back in my chat and just start rambling. You feel me? I think that's what you're gonna do. So enter the chat at your own mercy and say whatever it is that you're gonna say, and you're gonna get your issue. Again,
I don't listen to people that I can't learn from. So I don't listen to interviews of artists that don't have no value in what they say. I don't listen to music from people that I can't get no game from.
Are you the smartest one in your team?
Definitely not. I might be the dumbest one.
So we have a lot to do. We must do our business, what we have to do the job. And we are not against anybody. It's not to be against. It's to know more about yourself and more about humanity and try to bring contribution to the world. It's like that. So this complex of inferiority is over. Like to say, I'm doing well, I'm okay, healing me. Heal what? You are not sick. Well, heal for what? You have to do the job. You must do the job. We do well in some in art, in music, in athletics. We do well. We must do the same in business. We do well. We must in politics. We do well. So we must do well in a pure intellect business. We must do well too. Why not? We must learn Medu nature. We must know African language, African philosophy, African spirituality, African culture, African values. Know that very well. Bring that on table. Be proud of that. Because if it's lost, humanity will lose something. So it's good for us to bring this kind of. If they don't study Buddhism, we lose Buddhism. They must study Buddhism. If they don't study Christianity, the Bible, we lose that too. So it's good to study. Everything is a part of humanity, is a legacy. So we study because it's part of humanity. It's not to say we are proud, we did, came it, they did. Now we have to build a new pyramid. That's all. New schools, new homes, new families, new community, not people in jail, nothing like that. Be there and do well and be positive. This is what we have to do now.
I offended anybody, please forgive me, I'm so not sorry. You won't smoke, just keep it between me and you to get that pronto. You heard me? They said smoke in the album, now they kept me. You heard me?